time that Jahlil has fought in Puerto Rico. Am I right?
No, he fought here as an amateur. They did a U.S. versus Puerto Rico, and we were able to come down and do great in that tournament. So it's not our first time, and I hope it won't be our last time.
So let's talk a little bit about your opponent, Roman. Uh, what you know about him?
I know he's very tall, he's long, he's rangy, but he's the guy who likes to scrap. He loves to mix it up. And I think those are the type of people that give Jahlil the best opportunity to show everything that he is, everything he can do when he has people in front of him, like he says, who are also trying to beat him.
So like Jahlil's 9-0 at this moment in time. I mean, this opponent's 13-1. Um, Looking at him at the scales, I mean, he was like a lot taller than Jahlil. Um, what do you think that you have to do in this fight? For the audience, obviously Eddie Hearn spoke a lot upon Jahlil on the press conference, and we can get a little bit into that as well. But what do you think needs to be displayed tomorrow night?
Win, simply put, win. Treat it like the NCAA basketball tournament. Win and move on.
So, talk to me. Press conference went down. Weigh-ins, press conference. How's it been in Puerto Rico? How's like the production, everything?
Uh, Matchroom is first rate. I have to give them all their credit, all their respect. They run a very professional organization. Everybody treats everybody with a very high level of respect. So I like the situation that my son is in. They're realistic. They tell you what can be done, what can't be done, and you make a decision from there. So I respect that.
Um, in the press conference, Eddie Hearn spoke big stuff against Jahlil. What's your thoughts on some of the things that he said upon specifically Brian Norman Jr. and just how he praises your son as well.
Eddie's behind us. I mean, when we signed to the Matchroom brand, we signed with the conversation based on where do you want to go? Are you willing to fight? And if I put you in the right situations, what do you think you can do? And from day one, he did exactly that. So I think he's all in. As a company, on let's make Jahlil a world champion. And when I say make him a world champion, in the sense of it's the promoter's job to get you the fights. As the fighter, you have to win.
Going into like Ramon's box rec, right? When you look at it, like tell me, Bernard, like what do you see? Because obviously it's like a lot of a mixed numbers. What do you have to say? He's beating guys more on a losing record, built up, padded record, which they say.
I would say if you look at his career now and you compare it to everybody except for Olympian style guys, he's fought the same process that everybody else has. You know, I think sometimes you look at a guy's record and you compare him to the guys who have been either fast track or the guys who have extensive careers. The extensive career guys, if you go back and look at their first 13, 14, 15 fights, it runs along the same lines as he is. It's just that once they got into the upper echelon, you kind of overlook that because you're used to seeing him at the top of the pile. But this guy is very quality. He's very capable. I've watched what he's done, and he came in shape. That's the biggest thing that tells me he's taking this serious because he came in phenomenal shape.
Having a 72-inch arm reach, 6'2". What do you think is the game plan coming in? I mean, no, not the game plan, but like, what do you think that you would? What type of fight do you think we're going to be seeing here? Just because of the, is this the biggest guy that Jalil has fought?
In the pros, yes.
Right. So tell me, what kind of challenges do you think that he's going to possess?
I think if Jahlil allows it to be something that becomes a challenge, then it'll become a challenge. If Jahlil does what Jahlil does, the way Jahlil does things, I think Jahlil will give you the same performance that you come to expect from Jahlil.
Mm, mm. Um, Now let's get more into the press conference itself. More things like I mean, this is your stage now, Hackett. Uh, what would you like to talk about that was mentioned in the press conference itself? That that you people need to like keep an eye on. You know.
I'll tell you directly what it is: the squeaky wheel. Brian Norman, Jahlil Hackett. I can say this as the young fighters, they really do want to fight each other. I do not put anything less than that on Brian Norman or Jahlil. That's a fight that can be made to happen. I respect Brian Norman for what he said a couple of weeks ago on your podcast, that before it's over and said with, I want to fight Boots and I want to fight Jahlil. So now we get to the point where it could be sooner than later. If he doesn't fight Boots in a unification, there's only one other logical fight, and that's him and Jahlil. There's no other logical fight.
Right. Right. Um. Do you feel like they'll go to that direction? I mean, if that's the case.
Eddie has been a man of his word since I've spoken to him for the first time. And when he says, do your part and we'll do ours, then I can't take him but nothing at his word. That's all I can take him at. And if we do our part, then that leaves only two fights for Brian to choose from. Either Jerron Boots Ennis, which I say would make sense if he went that way. And if he doesn't go that way, then fighting Jahlil Hackett. That's it. Anything else, then I think he really would hurt my perception of the fighter I think that he is and what I think that they want to do with boxing.
Tell me, if your son and Brian Norman Jr. was able to meet in the pros. I know you guys been able to share the ring in the gym, but tell me, how do you feel like that fight plays out?
Um, I think based on what we've had uh interactions previously, I think my son is probably not probably, he's the bigger, and I would definitely say the bigger puncher of the two. I think him and Brian are both strong. Both of them strong as a bull, like two country boys. But I think we hold those advantages. I also say I think we hold the experience advantage. We've just been in the ring with better people. When you look at it, look at the not just the career, but look at the lifespan of our boxing. Jahlil was an outstanding amateur. Jahlil fought out of the country for the U.S. team. He's won medals internationally. He's now a pro. He's undefeated. He's fought quality guys. I think the fight that Jahlil fought last time against Pete Dobson, I think Pete Dobson's better than every fighter that Brian Norman has faced as a pro.
Even Giovanni Santalin, he's actually fighting this weekend.
Even him, he's okay. I don't down any fighter, but I think he's better. I don't think he's better than Brian Norman. I mean than Pete Dobson. I don't think he's better. I think Jahlil fight against, if you look at it, Pete Dobson went 12 rounds with Conor Benn. Conor Benn is one of the toughest welterweights in boxing. Can't take that away from him. Who has anybody that Brian Norman fought been in with the level of somebody like Conor Benn? And if they've been in there, they got flatline.
Mm. I mean, I think highly of Giovanni Santalin though.
Give me somebody of a Conor Benn level that he's beat.
Giovanni Santalin,
Yes,
Alex Rocha.
I can't take that from him. I can't take that from him. But once again, that gives them the same level of person. Then I'll say the same thing. I'll continue to say the same thing. It's not like he can put together a streak of 4 or 5 or 6 guys that
They're
he's
on that
beaten up.
level though. I feel what you're saying. Like you guys
Yeah,
are fighting on the same level.
yeah, we fighting on the same level.
Yeah, I would agree on that for sure. Um, you know, when you look at what's going on with Boots, I mean, and the criticism that he's taken. I mean, maybe if he's watching, what would some word advice would you have to say, and what do you think is going on? How do you feel about it?
Boots, my guy, his dad, my guy. We talk all the time. Boots ain't never ducked nothing. Slim will go get her. He a dog. And I'm gonna say the same thing that I would say if it was me and my son. We got here together. We know what we doing. Let's stick to our plan.
Mm, mm. Now, this guy Ramon that you guys are fighting tomorrow night. Now, tell me, you think that it'll be a big deal? Like, if you guys did stop him, he's never been stopped.
It'll be a big deal, but it wouldn't be. That's not the forefront thing for me. I think when you bring young fighters along and they have punching power and skill level, and you start putting the knockout as the only thing that's acceptable in a win, then you start making them make too many mistakes because they start putting pressure on themselves to look for things that might not always be there. Everybody's not going to get knocked out. That's why I tell Jahlil, it's not a requirement to get for them to get knocked out, but it is a requirement for them to get beat up.
Mm, yeah, I hear you on that. That's for sure. Now, how about the main event that you guys are gonna be fighting? Jahlil Hackett and Paro. What you think about that fight?
Talking about Hitchens and Pyro,
Yeah.
man, that's a good fight. I like that fight. Uh, I watched both of those guys fight, and I like them both. Uh, I've never had a chance to work with Payro, but I've had a chance, to work with Hitchens when Jahlil and him sparred before. I got a lot of respect for him. I got a lot of respect for Payro because he beat Subriel, and Subriel was supposed to be the 140 boogeyman. So when you get two guys that are both hungry to be a champion, I think you can only get a great fight. They've been sparking at the press conference. They've been talking back and forth with each other. And the day when they did the weigh-in, they was eye to eye and nobody blinked. It was a standoff. So, I think that's going to be an excellent fight. And I don't think you will have a winner and a loser, but neither one of those guys, if they put a great performance on, actually loses.
Mm. Do you think it could be controversial? Do you think it could be like a 50-50? How do you like when you really look at it? I know you said that you work with Richardson Hitchens, but the stylistic matchup, what do you think we get to see?
I think if Richardson Hitchens sticks to his boxing, and he's an excellent boxer, that he can box a 12-round fight and put enough rounds in the bag to where he wins. I think if he goes away from his attribute of being able to box and try to please fans with a knockout, he can make a fight more difficult than it has to be. I think Payroll is also a good boxer, but I think I have to lean towards the power side with him. If you say I have to give it to one or the other, and that's just the fight that I would stay away from. I think as a coach, you want to do the logical thing that has the best outcome of you winning. And I think if it's a distance fight, I think I got Hitches. If it's a knockout, I got Payroll.
It's all about if he could close the distance or not.
And
I
Hitch
like.
is a, Hitch is a great boxer. He a great boxer. If he boxes, I think Sean to walk out of there as the new IBF champion.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people give him grief for his last performance, but his last performance is the thing that makes me give him a little more leeway because he got hurt. He weathered the storm. We see a lot of guys that we don't know what they'll do when they get hurt. He dug down within himself. He weathered the storm, saw the final bell, got the win. So I think that gives a little more kudos for himself within himself, knowing I can get hurt and I can weather the storm. That's a big thing because a lot of fighters don't know if they can get hurt.
That's true. That's true. That's true. And he's already went through that experience, so that you feel like he's gonna get that edge because of that. Like he
Yeah,
has.
yeah,
Because if he didn't have that experience, we could be talking about a completely different type of fight here.
yeah. We definitely could because he might not know what to do in a situation if he get hurt, and it could get hurt worse. But now I think because he's had that situation, he can compose himself and say, "Okay, let's weather this through. Let's get back in the groove."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 100%. Now, what you think about this fight coming up, February 22nd? Shakur Stevenson and Schofield, Floyd Schofield.
I like the fact that Floyd Schofield is daring to be great. And the reason I say that is because he's taking a fight against a very talented fighter really early, as far as in the age and experience of his career. So I respect him 100% for taking that fight. I do have to lean towards Shakur. I think Shakur is the more complete fighter. He's the more complete fighter. But I can't say anything in a downing way about Schofield when I'm doing the same thing with my son. When my son fought for the WBC youth title, I had a lot of people. I think me and you talked about it. Say, hey man, I think this is going to be a fight that he may have should have waited one or two fights to take. Jahlil said we're ready now. He told me it was my job to get him prepared, to get the game plan. It was his job to execute. He executed. He won the WBC youth title. Then he turned around and once again, he said, hey, they got us on Pete Dobson and it's for a WBA title. Same thing go again. And I had very close people to me that told me, and I respect them because every man has an opinion. I think he's not ready for a Dobson fight, and he beat Pete. So I could say that Schofield not ready for a Shakur fight, but at the end of the day, when they fight, Schofield got to prove everybody wrong that thought he wasn't ready for it, and then he becomes a champion.
Right, right. Um, the what are the chances? What are your percentages that this young kid could possibly do that? Obviously, Shakur's hand has obviously been injured. People saying that his hands are brittle. Do you feel like that could play a factor?
Nah, Shakur too good of a boxer. Yeah, I've been on Shakur since he was a kid in the amateur. I know his grandfather very well. Shakur has a boxing IQ that's high enough to overcome a hand injury. And then secondly, Shakur is not known as this big grimacing puncher. He's known as a consummate boxer. So the hand injury wouldn't be something that would play into it as much because he's also got a young guy in front of him that may not have everything in the knowledge book or the tool shed to be able to take advantage of it. Sparring is one thing. We all had great days against guys in sparring, but when you actually got to put those 8 ounces on, when you got to do it in front of the crowd, that changes the whole complexion of everything.
Mm, yeah, I like that. I like that. Um, Also, we have here. Now, do you think that William Zepeda fight was more of a competitive fight in your behalf for Shakur, or this one,
Zepeda,
Zepeda?
yeah, yeah,
Tell me why.
I think, uh, like I said, I think Schofield is very gritty. I think Schofield is a very tough competitor. I think he will dig down and maybe in areas where other guys can't dig down. But he's still young. He's still learning, and I just I, I just don't think that there's there's this that super it piece that separates a lot of guys, like the Earl Spencer separate himself with that it factor. Uh, the Bud Crawfords had the it factor. I just don't think that he has that one it factor that can overcome the experience that Shakur brings to the ring.
Mm, mm. A lot of people are, just like they always do. Once they see Tank, they're taking every word that he's saying and holding him against it. And he was pronounced a couple Shakur questions and was very aggravated at the fact that people were talking about Shakur versus Lamont Roach. We're fighting Lamont Roach. So I mean, he was saying that he hasn't really accomplished anything, and a lot of people in the media were kind of like just throwing darts at him, saying, "Hey, are you scared of him?" And like, what do you think about his response of uh, retirement and just pretty much everything? I'm pretty sure you've seen the press conference.
Man, Tank don't got nothing to prove to nobody. He don't got nothing to prove to nobody. If he fights Shakur, if he don't fight Shakur, if he fight Devin, he don't fight Devin. None of that matters because Tank has already solidified himself in the bank, and he's already solidified himself in boxing. You know, I would be. I'm not mad at those guys. I'd be mad too if I don't get my chance to go to the bank. Tank is a walking bank book. Whoever fights him, you can't lose because you came away with more money than you'll probably see again on one night of your career. But as far as he gotta fight somebody, Tank don't gotta fight nobody. Tank can do what Canelo can do. Both of those guys have proven themselves so much they can fight who they want to fight. Do I think it's a lot of smaller weight guys that have a chance against Tank? No, I don't think it's a lot of them. I don't think it's a lot of them. And I think Tank is taking on a lot of big competition. Like I say, after a while, when you're young, you want to shut everybody up. When you get to a certain age, you tell people, beat my resume. I think Tank has a great resume. I think Barrios, who he fought, is a very excellent fighter who's doing his thing as a welterweight, and Tank beat him. So I just say if you don't want to fight him, don't fight him. If you do want to fight him, don't come crying about, well, they had weight stipulation. You knew all that when you signed the contract. If you didn't want to do it, don't do it. That's why I always say, are you signing the contract because you want a retirement check, or are you signing the contract because you think you can beat him? Because everybody comes with the same excuse after it's over. Well, he put a rehydration clause on me. You didn't have to sign it. You